Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pursuit of Relentless podcast. Today, I have Monica Burke on with me, and I am excited to get you guys to introduce yourselves to her, of course. But Monica, welcome to the show. We're super excited to have you, and I'd love to hear how you got into entrepreneurship.
Awesome. Thank you, Elena. Thank you so much for having me and letting me share my story. So I am a realtor out of Tulsa. I've been in real estate for about 9 years. I started in 2015. I do look very young. I know I've had that for a long time. I started when I was like 24. So I'm in my 30s now, but I still look like I'm in my 20s, which long term will be great.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, it's not been easy. I grew up poor. My mom eventually moved into lower middle class, and now she's like middle class, corporate ladder. I started off working a call center job doing collections and repossessions. I hated it, but I learned a lot of great lessons. It was sales hardcore. Because you are selling people who do not want to pay you and have every excuse. So you learn overcoming objections very quickly. You learn how to direct people in the direction you need them to be working in. And you learn how to bridge gaps and resolve problems in ways that they're not considering.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned a lot of really great tools. And then I moved into real estate. I hate it. I got to a point where I was just miserable trying to move up into management myself and decided, okay, this isn't for me. And at the same time, I had a friend that just got in real estate and he's like, girl, you would be great. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he's like, you would be great at this. And you're like, okay. So I do what everyone does. And I'm like, okay, if I sold one house, I would make all this money. I'd be rich. All I would need to do is like sell one house a month. I'd be really set. Which, by the way, if you're not in the industry, that's not true at all. So there's a lot that goes out that you don't realize and they don't necessarily tell you either. So I got in. I was the first one in the door, made every training. It was like, you got something you don't want. I'm your girl. I'll do it. So I had gotten my wing underneath an agent who did foreclosures and HUD homes. And the average sale price at that time for those in Oklahoma were like $40,000 to $50,000 homes.
Okay.
So there's not like a lot of money, and I'm paying a referral fee on what I make because it's hers. All I got, it wasn't even solid leads. It was sign calls. Like, it's just people like, hey, I saw this house. What's up with it? Like, what's it cost? And I would convert about 85% of those, which is very high. And it's just knowing how to maneuver things. So I did that at breadcrumbs. We lose everything. Fast forward. I start getting momentum. My husband starts a concrete company. He loses everything. The partner robs us. He robs clients. Like, it's horrible. People are showing up at the office upset that they're being screwed over because they're getting liens like on their property from him not paying concrete bills, things like that. Mechanical liens. Yeah, it was a nightmare. Then the other thing is, like, there's so much convoluted with that, is that people were driving by our house, our personal house, because they use that as the business address for the LLC that they put together. And people were very angry, toppled with the fact that I was pregnant with my daughter, that I was not expecting to have because my husband had a vasectomy 5 years prior. So it was like, the world's really just caving, and I couldn't afford real estate. I had to get out. It was really, really hard. And we lost everything. We moved to a broken down trailer with nothing. And, my kids slept on a used mattress that someone gave us on the floor, and the floor had holes in it and was falling through. The mobile home was a 1981 tin can trailer, like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. There were roaches everywhere that we couldn't get rid of. Like, it was disgusting.
I slept in a camper for a couple months myself, so I
Yeah,
feel you on that.
like could not get rid of them. My termite lady would go and spray for free for us. She would give, because if you guys may not know this, but if you use like Orkin and those national brands, they water down their supply because they need a monthly payment from you. And so they're not really necessarily trying to get rid of the problem. They need that contract to keep them going. She's a very small business, but her deal is like one and done. Like, I'm going to use the highest level that I can that's legal to get rid of the problem because I don't want to keep coming back. And she doesn't need to. And dude, she's like, you're never going to get rid of these. Like, they eat the material that it's made out of. Your neighborhood has them everywhere. You're next to a creek. Like, there's no way to get rid of these.
Oh.
So we lived in that for like 3 years.
No way.
Yeah, it was like we lost everything, and I didn't want to go back to it. So I had my daughter. I get pregnant. We end up. My husband wanted to. Well, he didn't want to. He had to. Like, he couldn't get a job. Like, at that time, this was in 2016. The highest paying jobs, the jobs that were paying previously like $20 an hour, were paying like $10 to $12 an hour. And they were like, because he used to be a welder, and they were like, well, we want you to work like 60 hours a week and you'll have all this overtime, but how do you get a better job if you're working all the time? Like, so I learned this lesson the very, very hard way. And this is a business too. Like, when you're trying to make those leaps, from like working, getting your side hustle and what you really want to do. Okay, I'm trying to go forward. You can't let your job outwork your business, or you'll never make it. And so, like, I knew this, and I was like, how this, like, it would help us right now, but then we're stuck, and I don't want to be stuck. And my mom is a financial aid director. And that's what she does. She's at colleges, and she lived in North Carolina, which we live in Oklahoma, 18-hour drive. She said, well, why don't y'all come here, the school here for truck driving? He can get his Class A CDL within 60 days. And, they start off making minimally $50,000 a year. And that would at least put you guys in a position that you could have control. Because the only school here for that, what they don't tell you in that industry is like they own you. They will pay for your school, but you're never going to see your family for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
They own you.
Yeah.
And so my mom was awesome because she really she's like, you guys don't need a handout. You need a hand up. Like, she's like, she could see the same problem I was seeing. So I'm pregnant, about 7 months pregnant. I have nothing for my daughter, just so you know, like necessity wise. Someone gave us a crib. I may have had a few outfits that I like kind of got, but I really had like no bottles, no clothes, no diapers, no like necessity items, bottles, anything for her. And we had nothing coming in. So our families were paying our bills, which were minimum. It was like $200 for lot rent for the trailer, like making the car payment just to keep it from being repoed. By the way, we were driving around with no insurance because we couldn't afford it. It was like, we're probably just gonna have to file bankruptcy. Like, that's what, we're just like, and it doesn't feel good because I've never been that person. I never thought I would be that type of person to be evicted or to not have insurance. Or like, I understand those are very important things, but what do you do when you've spiraled so far and you have no income coming in? You cannot afford it.
Ask for help.
Yeah. And there were all these things, like in the midst of losing it before we made that trip, I got pulled over for speeding. And it was like the day after his partner had robbed everything. And I literally, the kids were in the car, my husband's in the car. We were coming back from a bid that we were trying to get business to pay back everybody. Like, I haven't slept in 2 days. I'm pregnant. He's like, you didn't even slow down when I passed you. I said, yeah, just give me the ticket. I was like, I don't even want to explain to you my problem. Like, just give me the ticket.
Did you feel like you were on autopilot at that point? Just kind of like, just trying to
Yeah.
figure out
That's
what's
what it is.
next?
Like, you're just trying to like figure it out, you know? I'm like, just give me the ticket. Like, you're never gonna understand what the fuck I'm going through right now.
Right. Yeah,
Like you're
totally.
never gonna get this. And my husband's like, you're gonna get us arrested. Like, he's like, what are you doing? Like, because it was coming off real, you know, not like me right now, just real bitchy, just plain like zombied out. And my son's like in the backseat going, she's been through a lot. Like,
Aw.
literally, he was like, she's been through a lot. Please don't. And that ticket ended up being a warrant out for my arrest because I couldn't pay it.
Oh no.
And so we go to North Carolina. Nathan enrolls in school. We're living with my parents. We have to unenroll the kids from school here in Oklahoma, enroll them there in North Carolina for the 2 months we're going to be there, and then enroll them back in Oklahoma when we come back. Because you can't, like, your kids have to go to school, you know, and online it was before COVID era.
Right.
So
Yeah.
thing.
It wasn't that convenient.
Yeah. So we're like doing these things. He gets to school. He literally gets through it 2 months. He had to change his license over to there because he has to get it there. Then we get back in. He gets a job before he gets out of school because in the trucking world, that's how it is. Like, they need people. So he gets a job. He graduates the 2-month college thing, changes his license to Class A CDL. Next day, we get in the car, load it up in a little Toyota Corolla, and head back across the country, 18-hour drive, straight drive back. So can't afford a hotel or anything. Straight all the way back. The very next day, he gets on an airplane and heads to Washington State for training. Like, and I'm pregnant, 2 kids. I have no job. I can't get a job. The only place that will hire me is Old Navy because I'm pregnant. Like, literally, I'm like, I could get a desk job. Like, I've done collections for years. I have skill sets I can utilize, but nobody wants to hire someone that's about to have a baby except for like retail. They're like, we'll hire you at $8 an hour. And I'm like, I'll take it because, you know, I got kids to feed. So what else do you do? Like,
You take the job. Yeah.
you know,
Do the work.
like, yeah, you're like, okay. I have the so I go back to my real estate office just to see my friends because I have a lot of friends in the industry. I've made a lot of friends over the years, and even at that point, I had a lot of friends. And they end up on my way there. I get pulled over, and the cop tells me I had an expired tag. We did get insurance at this time, so I had insurance back again. He's looking at me and he's like, there's a warrant out for your arrest. And I said, well, I don't know what for, because I had forgotten about that ticket. Because in my mind, that didn't even, like, I was on that autopilot. Like, I'm just like, what could I possibly have a warrant for my arrest for?
Next.
I'm not the person. Like, I'm not that, like, I'm a good girl, you know, like, I don't break the law. Like, anymore anyway. When I was like 18, a whole different story. But I was like, I don't know what I would have a warrant out for my arrest. He's like, well, I couldn't tell you why, but they can see. And he's like, it looks like you might have something unpaid. So for one, he's like, but he's looking at me and he can tell like I'm pregnant, but I also used to weigh about 100 pounds heavier. So next thing I know, another cop comes up and he's looking through my other side of the door and they're trying to determine, I realize, if I'm fat or pregnant. Like, they're really, because they don't want to take a pregnant girl to jail. They don't want the liability. Like, so they're just kind of like, and it's not a violent crime or anything like that. So there's that side to it. He goes, well, I'm supposed to take you to jail, but we're not going to do that. He's like, you have to show up to court on this date. He's like, if I were you, I would get that ticket paid. I would get your license unsuspended because it's suspended right now before this date. He's like, and technically you're not supposed to drive this car any further, but we're going to go ahead and leave. So then they leave and I'm like, I'm going. Who else am I going to call? My husband's in Washington State. My family does not live here.
Right.
His family does, but it's not super helpful. And I'm like, I head to the office. I'm kind of distraught. I'm like, you guys would never believe what happened. And they were angels. They started to give me money. And I said, no, 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 no. Like, I didn't come for your money. Like, I was like, that's not what, like, I came to see you guys. It's just like, this just happened literally on the way here. So I'm just kind of shooken up. Like, I'm not trying to get your money. Like, that's not why I'm here. I'm not trying
Right.
to get your money. And they're like, no, 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 Monica, listen, we were going to get you a baby shower present, but I think the best present your kids could have is you not in jail.
Right.
And they're like, what are you going to do? Like, are you too prideful? Literally, one of the agents goes, are you too prideful to take my money? You'd rather sit in jail. Are you kidding me? And I was like, I felt so ashamed. Like, just so much shame. You're like, I can't even take care of my kids. I can't take care of anything. And you just feel like this big fucking victim
Yeah.
in the moment. And you're like, I can't get a job that's paying for anything. Like, the job I have isn't even worth the gas to get there, quite honestly. Like, it just feels like you're like, it can't get any worse. And then it does. And you're like, how, And I took the money. I was like, my kid, like, what am I going to do? What if my kids get off the bus and mom's not there? And like, they're going through so much as it is, like,
Totally.
and so you're just like, fine, I'll take the money. And I was able to take care of those things. And Nathan's family, my husband's family, they did give us some money as well. We made literally scraped through like just enough to get my license unsuspended and pay that ticket and everything before that court date. And so then they took it as driving with a suspended license, all these things, down to just not having my driver's license on me. And I still had like a $250 ticket, but I couldn't pay that, right then. So I made out payment arrangements to pay like $25 a month. And I was like, I don't know. We lived off of $600. Like, we were paying, when we lost everything, there were people that were giving us money. That's also part of it, like giving us money to cover like payroll for the concrete guys. We were still trying to fix people's driveways and do the right thing. Like, where Chris had taken all that money, the partner had taken all their money. And so we were at the cost of the materials, paying the guy, and that was all coming from our real estate at first, and loans from individuals that just believed in us and was like, you can do this, here, I'll help you. We ended up, between not just them, some family, some of like my brother, he was in med school. He let us put like $6,000 on his credit card, which he could not pay because he's not, like, he was in medical school, full-time student, and had a child with his wife. He had working at Target Pharmacy as a pharmacy assistant. So he's making like $13 an hour. He's not making money to cover this debt. And so all those people, like Nathan was making more than that, but we made an arrangement with everyone that we took money from. We were paying him $200 a month. And some wanted more than that. And I was like, I can't do it. Like, this is what I can do.
Yeah.
Until it's paid. And people were asking me too. They're like, some of Nathan's family was even like, you should just tell people you can't pay them. I mean, look at what you guys, I mean, for real, like, look what you're living in. And there was something in me. And I said, I can't do it. I can't fuck people over. Like, I can't do it. Like, I have to make this right. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of debt. None of it's my fault. Like, but even if I have to like live off of shit,
just because it's not your fault doesn't mean it's not your responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Like, you're talking my family. Like, I'm not gonna fuck my brother over.
No.
Like, no amount of money's worth that. And why is it not his problem when it's my problem? Like, I put him in a bad situation that he can't really even afford, and that could fuck up his dreams of what he's trying to accomplish. So why would I do that? Like, I couldn't do it. And I was just like, I'm going to do what's right. For the first time in my life, like, I'm just going to stick it out and suffer. I mean, and we did. Like, our alcoholic drink was Mountain Dew and Burnett's Blue Raspberry Vodka, which was like $10 for this like big, disgusting thing. But it was so disgusting, you can't just like drink it. You had to pour it in something, and like every Friday night, that was our like specialty drink, cost us $11 to drink, and $5 Little Caesars pizza. That was like, and we lived in this shitty trailer that's like horrible.
Yeah.
That was my life.
Yeah.
And so I have Maggie. I decide, like, I was like, I'm never going back in real estate. I just want to be comfortable. Like, the life I'm providing, doing this risk is not worth this. And so I'm like, I'm going back to work. Not only that, my son looks at me one day. He's my oldest son. He's about 8 or 9. He's having a very hard time. Like, he takes this on like this is his fault. He had trouble with not having control over anything. Just things kept happening. And he's struggling watching us struggle. And I will tell you, one day it was just him and I in the car, and he was crying. I said, listen, I need you to trust me. I need you to know I'm going to make this all right. Do you trust me? And he like, man, Elena, he was hesitant. Like, he's like, I have no other choice. Like, that was the answer. Like, it's like, I guess, like, I have to. Yes. And at that was my moment where I was like,
nope. Oh, I have goosebumps right now.
Like, I was like, oh.
My kid doesn't believe that I can do it. Yeah, no, you have those moments.
You'll never believe me again. This is it.
Yeah, you got to go for it.
And I got a job. I did, because that was like mentally, it was not, I did try to go back into real estate actually at first. At that moment, I had a family member that was willing to give us money so that I could put my license back to active. And I convinced them. I was like, I know I can do this. I've done it before. I know that I can fucking do this. I have to. And my broker messaged me and said, oh no, you don't get to just put your license back to active. We must talk before you do that. So I go to talk to her. And she's like, you took all this money from these agents. She said, if you take one more thing from them, we will fire you. You're not a good fit for us. And I don't think that this is the right time for you. How are you going to handle having a baby? You're not thinking things through. How are you going to have a baby and do real estate? I was like, I guess
perfect thing to do. You can take your baby on showings with you, like
it's not ideal, but I had been taking my boys with me prior to that. Yeah. Like, I was taking them with me.
You got to do what you got to do.
And I remember, you're in your lowest low, man, and you already feel shame.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm taking a loan, another loan to get back at it. But in my head, it made sense. And it did, because I had the opportunity to make a lot more money.
Right.
But that was that nail in the coffin, and to me, that was like, this is the time to give up. Like, you're not going to make it. Like, what the fuck? You're a dumbass. Like, that was it. And you just reply, like, I struggled. I got held back in 2nd grade. I was never the smartest. My brother he's in med school. I told you. So he's the smart one. He's got that brain. I do not. I was a kid that I've never been able to read correctly. Like, I read things wrong. So that's how I can butcher any name. And like Italian, for me, I used to call it Italin. Like, if I read it, I read it Italin.
Mm.
And so, I was like, I was that person that just, it was like, I'm not good at anything, man. I just fucking suck. And so I go get a job doing subrogation for insurance. I get hired making like $17 an hour for a temp agency because of all of my collection experience. I'm not pregnant. I had Maggie. So, and I minimally needed that much because now I have to pay for childcare. And so I go get that job. They have a bonus structure. If you make this much in sell in the you it's not sales because you're battling between two insurance companies, but if you resolve so much, you get bonuses. And I was like, this is fucking great. Like, I'm gonna get hired. I'm gonna bonus because their bonus structure was higher. Dude, I was outperforming the people, their highest people. And they didn't want to pay me a bonus structure. And they didn't have to because I was a temp agent. And so that was only once they hired you. So once I started performing like a fucking mad woman, they're like, we want to keep you as a temp because we don't want to pay it out. And they were coming up with dumb fucking excuses. They were like, we think you might ask too many questions. Like, that was one of the excuses they had. It was like, and I had just had Maggie, so I was like super emotional too. I'm not gonna lie. Like my hormonal imbalance was ridiculous after her, and during pregnancy with her too. And so I would like cry, like, because they're telling me they're not gonna hire me, and then they're like, then the next time they're like, we don't know, we just your personal conduct of like crying. They're like, we just don't. They just kept trying to hold me as a temp, and I saw the second time I was like, fuck this. I was pissed because I'm in this position. You got to see the position I'm in, and they don't care, you know? And right. I'm like, I'm going to go get a different job. So I go get a different job at a bail bonds place doing collections, basically suing people that don't pay their bonds. They're the people that sign for them, and or throwing people back in jail, helping get them to come in to go back in jail, like tricking them back into the office so that they go back to jail because they haven't paid, or they're breaking the rules of bond, like one of the two. And it was actually a little bit of a decrease in pay, but like there were like these like you could make, and I was like, I don't care because I'm not like, it was at that point it became that matter of like
integrity.
Yeah, like you're screwing me over and I'm not doing it.
Nope, you can't walk on me.
The moment I told them I was quitting, they're like, then they pulled me in the office, literally pulled me right in the office, and they're like, you want a job? Like, we'll give you the job.
I'd be like, no, I don't want to work for someone who treats me like shit. Like, why would I
was like, no, Dad, I'm good. Like, I was like, I'm out, you know? And they did have a huge culture problem too. Like this is just what you can imagine. And then they're like, then they start trying to scare me about bail bonds, and you're working with criminals and they could kill you. What if they hurt your family? What if I was like, I did real estate. I was meeting random people in houses. I'm good. I was like, and I'm pretty like, I'm just saying, I'm not a delicate flower, like at all. So I go back to that, but that's miserable. I'm not gonna lie. Like the culture there is miserable too, as you probably could imagine just by the job itself. It's like we're all fucked up people that work. And I was walking on eggshells. The owner was like very like, it was mood driven. Like it was completely ran by what she felt that day. And for me, it was mentally exhausting and walking on eggshells, and I couldn't take it. And at the same time, I had a friend that was in real estate going, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life? Why are you just laying down and letting it happen? Like, she was like, why aren't you doing the thing that you're good at doing? You are too good to quit. Like, I don't understand why you quit. And I talked to her. She was working for a different company, and she convinced me to give it a go. I was like, if I'm going to do it again, at least it'll be at a company that has no clue about any of the stuff that's happened. Like I can start fresh. I have so much shame still about it, but at least like nobody really knows. Like they can judge me for the person they see and not, what they think. And I came back in. At first I was like, all right, summer was coming up. It was March. I said, okay, this is my income at that time was about $2,400 a month from the bail bonds place, which we needed. Like we were starting to have a life. Like we could afford groceries again. We're still paying people off. And I said, all right, $2,400 a month. As soon as I can replace that, I'm out of here. Like the moment I can get to where I'm replacing that income, I'm done. And my goal was by summer. It was like, I was like, I'm giving myself 90 days. I had 90 days to get this, or I'm screwed because I have 3 kids and I cannot afford childcare for summer for 3 kids on this salary. But if I get into real estate and I make this happen, they can go with me. And so I'm like, we're going to do it. And dude, it took me 60 days. It was like, bam, bam, bam,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and then I never looked back. And I will tell you at that time, even at that, I did not have internet. I did not have a computer. When we lost everything, I mean, we sold out everything that we had. Like we gave it away out of desperation prices. Like, oh, our cell phones. We sold our cell phones for like $75. And we're like we went on, our cell phone service was Boost Mobile at this time. We weren't allowed to have a bank account because of this partner that had wrote about $100,000 worth of bad checks to the bank, the business account that we were all on. And we weren't allowed to get, like we were living off of cash. And if you guys don't know this, it costs money to live off of cash. Paying your bills is a whole thing. Like it's not as simple as going online or automatic drafts or any of that shit. It's like standing in line at Walmart to send your money orders, your Western Unions, your MoneyGrams. Now you have Walmart Pay, which it's way cheaper, but it costs you for each bill that you're paying or gas going to the place to pay the bill. So it's way easier when you have a bank account. And I know like for most people, that's one of those things that you would take for granted. Everybody's got a bank account. Like who wouldn't have a banking account? Well, when you're not responsible or things happen, that's what happens. And so we're going through all of that. I don't have I have a Boost Mobile cell phone. So Boost Mobile will allow you to be, or it used to, I don't know what it's like anymore, but it wouldn't allow you to be on the internet and the phone at the same time. You did have internet access, but you couldn't be on the phone or it wouldn't work. So when people would call, like I was getting clients through open houses because that's my jam. Like if I get in front of you, you're mine. Like that's just what it is. But people were like in our industry, a lot of people will pay for what I call blank leads, like Zillow, realtor.com, things like that. When you inquire, it goes to an agent that's paying them. And then it could end up being something that's like, could I rent this, or I'm looking to buy, it could be anything.
Right.
Those leads are very expensive and it's not something I was like, that's just not even an option for me. So I built mine from the ground up. It's slower, it's harder, but then years later, the return is so much greater. So, that's where I'm sitting now. Like what you
I was just going to say, yeah, fast forward to today.
Yeah, like that's what it is. Like seriously, like and I truly, my goal is to have a relationship with anyone as long as it's possible. I want to have great relationships with anyone as long as it's possible.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's even within my industry with other agents, clients. Sometimes it's not like but when I say sometimes it's not. It's like 1 in every 500. Like it's not every other person. And sometimes our personalities just don't match, and that's okay too. Like I'm fine with it. But yeah, like that's how I built it. So when people would call me that I met at open house, I wouldn't answer it because I couldn't look up to see what they were talking about. And I didn't want them to know that where I was living, my situation, I was so self-conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because people look at realtors and you think they're rich, and a lot of them aren't, like, and I felt like if they saw where I lived, they'd be like, she's obviously not successful. I don't want to do business with her. And so,
I felt the same way when I started in business.
yeah, like you have that. And so you're like, I don't want them to know. So they would call me, I would let it go to voicemail, then I would text them immediately. I'd say, hey, I'm in an appointment. Let me see, text me what house you're looking at, and I'll look it up and see if I can get what you need, or what is it that you're needing. They would text me the address. I would pull it up on my phone, and then I would call them. I would get familiar with the disclosures real quick because I couldn't go back and forth. But once it was up on just the regular MLS, I could at least answer whatever questions that they had. And so I did that, man. I used the office computers, and that's all I had. Like, that was it. So, I mean, I built it with nothing.
Crazy, hey? And
Yeah.
now, what's your office situation like now?
I did move offices from there about a year ago. It was I outgrew that box. I'm very blessed and grateful for it, because if it weren't for them, I would have not gotten back in. But at the same time, as I grew my business, we weren't aligning in our core values and our missions and our they needed me to stay small and not want to go so big because of their own fears of you leaving them and taking their people. And like, it gets really insane, actually. And so, we were cool up until I started a team. Once I started a team and was really going more entrepreneurial myself, then it was like, we don't love you that much, and then it's like, but this is the box we want you to be in. And I'll be honest, when I went to leave, there came a point where I was like, what I realized is I have to run 3 laps here in order to get the results I would have at half a lap over here. And this lap over here, this half a lap, is costing me a lot less money too. And so I vocalized the things I was not happy with to them, and was like, but I think these things are fixable. And that was my biggest mistake, because once I did that, I was on their radar. And once I started looking at other places, they were like, you're out. Like, we got a text message, my team did. We've released you from MLS and everything. I had about $2 million worth of contracts out, and they blocked my access from assessing those contracts. But I was responsible for those contracts. And that's the thing, is like, in our world, you as an agent are not protected. It's the brokerage that's protected. And I mean, I had to learn systems overnight. We had to rename our team because they refused to allow us to use my registered team to them over. They would not release it, which was stupid because it was Burke Home Team. What else are you going to do with that? Like, it's just one of those, like, sticking it to you things. And they took they stole some money. They did actually steal, but about $40,000 from me. I will tell you that they had no fucking clue who the fuck they were messing with at that point. Like, I was like, y'all don't know me. You don't know my story. You didn't listen clearly, because I'm not the one. And I'm not going to do anything to retaliate towards you directly, but I can guarantee you that $40,000 is going to cost you a lot more than you took. And it has. And not anything that I've done. I'm not the person to go out, but I'm going to tell you, when people came to me, new agents, I'm like, no, you don't want to go there. Trust me. Here's the insides. People that call me wanting out, I'll tell them how to get out safely, because I know their game. I was like, I got y'all's number, but you don't have my number. There's a difference there. So then we ended up doubling our production in all this, and within all their hits, doubled our production, changed our team name, grew our team, like, insane amounts of success from that standpoint up. I was like, oh, watch this. And so I was like grateful for it. Honestly, I was like, well, yeah. And it felt like nothing. The funny thing is their attacks probably back in the day would have been like devastating, to be quite honest. But when you go through all this shit, you're like, this ain't nothing. Like, I'm too strong now. Like, people love me for what I do for them. They don't care about you. Like, you're just a name on a board, and you forget that sometimes. I'm the person they're calling, not
Your
you.
brand. Yeah.
Yeah. And I am brand equity in your brand. Let's not get that confused either. Because at this point, you know that because you don't attack everyone the way you attacked me. You attack a good select group of people when you know you're losing somebody. But their brand in the last 3 years has like down. And people every day, it's like a big agent's like, I'm leaving. Like it's everybody's leaving and nobody wants to come, but the new agents that don't know better.
Yeah, that's really frustrating. All you can do is do it the right way, your own way, and just go, hey, there's bad people in every business. And if you look at it, it's like, I'm in finance, right? And there's a lot of people in the financial space that are not doing things that are serving people. And it's like, when you're going out to do the mission, like mission before commission, we are out there changing lives, like doing it right. And then you get that reciprocated, right? You get those clients, you get those wins, you get those opportunities to showcase your talents and why people should work with you. Like what makes you different, right?
Right. Like what it is. And I will say, like, it comes down to intention. Like, I'm not a very revengeful person at all. Like, I'm really, really, I understand why people do what they do. And I would tell you, even that the owners of that company, I would tell you they're really insecure people. Like, that is why. Like, if they don't look that way on the outside, but I'm telling you, if someone was secure, they wouldn't say the things that these people have said to other people. They wouldn't do, like, that is not how someone that is secure would behave. And so I have pity more than anything. Honestly, I just wish that they would take a look in the mirror and say, this isn't working. Like, I need to change. But that just doesn't seem to happen. Like, it just, and in my mind, I'm like, I want to save others because I know the things they're telling you, and it's just such bad information. Like, you're telling people not to be who they are. You're telling people like they'll never be successful if they're like this. And I think that, like, I have this huge rebellion in me that, like, I'm like, I want to do what people don't expect, and I want to succeed anyway. So let's just nip that in the butt. Like, if I show up to an appointment, my clients fully expect me to show up in athletic gear. Because that's like who they know. And when I say I'm dressed up, I'm wearing jeans and a shirt that day. Like that's me. But they have told, like, I've had many, many clients say, Monica, I don't hire you for what you wear. I hire you for your results.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what do you wish that you learned earlier when it come to your real estate endeavors, right? Like, what do you wish you learned earlier in business that has helped you become a success now, that you were like, oh, all I had to do was change this, or all I had to do was focus on this mindset, or what was it for you?
Yeah.
Like, boom.
Slow is fast. Because everyone around you in business, it doesn't matter if you're in real estate, finance, like, this is how we all think. We go, but so-and-so over there, like, they're getting lucky. They're making it fast. They're making it like they went from here to here to here to here. And some of them are doing them in ways that you just don't see. Like, you don't see the work they're really doing. Or it's a facade. Like, they're not doing that great, and they're buying these leads. So it looks like they're making all this money, especially in my world, but they're spending more than half of it just to get the damn lead to make the money.
Right.
Like, they're not making what you think they're making. They're not succeeding the way you think they're succeeding. And honestly, true success, I wish I would have grasped this sooner, because when I was new, I saw all these people that I felt were winning that were not winning, or I was looking at someone that had been doing 20 years and going, they can wake up today and get a referral. Like, why can't I just wake up and get a referral today? Like, that's crazy, And
I hate when people try and keep up with the Joneses, because I'm like, okay, guys, just understand that the Joneses are broke too. Like, you don't want these people's lives. Like, look at the people that you're surrounding yourself with and go, hey, is this the person whose life I want? Right? Are these the people that are going to help me push myself to get to my goals and dreams? Right? It's so important.
Does my life align with what they want? Like, does their life align with what I want? Sorry, I got it backwards. But does it, like, in all aspects. Like, I have friends that make way more money than I do, but they're fucking miserable. Like, all they do is work. I mean, I got a message one time from a friend last year. She said, I saw that you guys put your Christmas lights up with the family and you had hot cocoa. She goes, I'm so jealous. Like, I just wish I had time to do that with my family.
You have to make time.
My heart broke, and I've had conversations because she's my friend. Trust me, I've had like this where we can find money for you, but people have to come to their own journey sometimes. And like, we can't want it for them. That's the other thing. Like, that's a huge lesson I've learned. We think that we can come in and fix people and fix situations, but the only person that can fix themselves is the person. No one can fix you. No one can fix me. Only I can fix me. We can give them tools, support, love, but you cannot want it more than they do. And nobody else can want it for me more than I do.
Yeah.
And so that happens. I mean, that's even in the same, like, my husband's tried to do another business since then. And he came to the conclusion that, like, this is not for him. And I was like, I'm cool with it. Cause I want to do my thing. So I'm out. But he came to that, like, and part of that conclusion for me coming to it was, I want it more than he does because of the vision that I would picture in our mind of how we would live our life. I want it more than he does. And that's not fair to him. Like, I'm pushing onto him what my desires are instead of allowing him to live in a space of what his desires are. Like, I mean, in marriage, we do that a lot. And
oh, excuse me.
Even in employees, friends, like, we tend to push and desires for good. Like, it's not like I'm trying to kill my husband or do so, but like, what we want, sometimes we don't always realize we're putting that on someone else. And that's not even what they want.
Yeah, totally. I love that. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time for today. So I want you guys to get more access to Monica. So where can they find you on social media and all that stuff?
All that stuff. So I have a book coming out called Power On, and that will be on Amazon next month, towards the end. Follow me on Facebook. It's just Monica Burke. And Instagram is Power On Monica Burke, the name of the book with Monica Burke. Awesome. So yeah, I'm always available.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming today. I know there's a ton of people who are going to hear your story and be like, me too. Me too. Me too. Right. It's so interesting sometimes just learning, hey, this is where it started. I used to live in my car, like I used to live in my fifth wheel or whatever it is that your story is. Right. Everyone's going to have a different story, but it's what you create from that matters. Right. It's the after. It's the journey. Yeah. It's the learning about yourself and learning to love and learning to, build those relationships and challenge yourself and have a good time. But yeah. I know that there's going to be a lot of people thinking about what their next journey is going to look like. So that's it for today, guys. That's Pursuit of Relentless signing out. Make sure that if you got value from the show, that you share it with a friend. And until next time, have a good day.